On a moist spring morning within the expansive grounds of Howlett's Wild Animal Park in England, Tansy Aspinall awoke to the chirping of birds and the earthy aroma of damp soil. The sole daughter of Damian Aspinall, a pioneering conservationist, Tansy experienced a unique childhood, nurtured among family and the park's exotic residents, which for many were merely subjects of documentaries or symbols of conservation. From her early years, Tansy was acquainted with the park's gorillas. Her father held a firm belief that nurturing bonds between humans and animals from a young age would cultivate a new era of fervent and committed conservationists. Djalta and Bimms, two western lowland gorillas, quickly became Tansy's constant companions. Although they were formidable in size, in her presence, they transformed into gentle giants, exhibiting a tenderness that seemed nearly human. Tansy learned to walk under Djalta's watchful eyes, who sometimes extended a hairy arm to balance her when she stumbled over tree roots. Bimms, on the other hand, was her playmate. He loved rolling in the grass with Tansy, filling the air with laughter and soft grunts. They shared fruit snacks at lunchtime, and Bimms delicately picked apple slices from Tansy's small hands. This harmonious coexistence between the girl and the gorillas was carefully supervised by caregivers and by Damian himself, who documented each interaction, hoping one day to show the world that peaceful coexistence between species was possible and beneficial. On her 5th birthday, Tansy received from her father a necklace with a small silver gorilla-shaped pendant. It was a symbol of her lifelong commitment to her friends and to the conservation mission. Damian knelt beside her, closing the necklace around her neck, and said with a proud smile, "You, my dear, are the bridge between our worlds. The gorillas accept you as one of their own, and that is a precious gift and a great responsibility." These early years of Tansy's life were marked by a deep sense of purpose and immeasurable love for her gorilla companions. She grew up knowing that every moment with Djalta and Bimms was a lesson in life, teaching her about respect, care, and the intricate web of life that connects all creatures. However, as in all stories of growth and learning, the day would come when Tansy would have to face the reality of her friends' mission to return to the wild, where they belonged, to lead their own groups and contribute to the preservation of their species. This farewell, though necessary, would be one of the most challenging and formative moments of her life. As Tansy grew older, she also began to understand the complexity of her father's work and the broader goals of the foundation he led. She knew that the days of innocent play with Djalta and Bimms would not last forever, and that they were, above all, ambassadors of their species, destined to lead an independent life in the jungle. At the age of 11, the reality of this separation knocked on Tansy's door. One autumn morning was marked by long discussions among conservationists, biologists, and her father. They were preparing for the transition of Djalta and Bimms back to the wild, part of the Foundation's reintroduction program. For Tansy, although proud of the significant role her friends would play in conserving their species, the news was a painful blow. On the day of departure, the park was bustling with final preparations. Transport crates filled with comforts and familiarities for the gorillas were loaded and meticulously inspected. Tansy spent every possible moment beside Djalta and Bimms, speaking softly to them, reinforcing the safety and love she felt. "You're going home," she whispered, her words choked with emotion, "to a place where you can truly be free, where you belong." Djalta, with his always perceptive expression, gently stroked Tansy's head as if understanding the magnitude of the moment. The farewell was a mixture of tears and smiles, strengthened by her father's conviction that it was the right thing to do. Tansy waved until the trucks disappeared from sight, taking a significant part of her heart with them. The following years were ones of growth and learning for Tansy, who immersed herself in the study of conservation and biology, determined to continue her family's legacy. The longing for her gorilla friends, however, never left her, and the hope of seeing them again shone in her heart like an unquenchable flame. At the age of 23, driven by nostalgia and the desire to check on Djalta and Bimms' successful reintegration, Tansy organized an expedition to visit them in the natural reserve where they had been released. With a team of documentarians and biologists, she embarked on this emotional journey, armed with hope and fear of the unknown. Arriving at the reserve, the intense greenery of the rainforest welcomed the team. Tansy felt herself transported back in time, every aroma and sound of the forest bringing vivid memories of her childhood. The following days were spent tracking the gorilla signs using location collars that had been carefully placed on the animals before their release. Then, on a rainy afternoon, as they walked along a muddy trail, a subtle movement in the dense vegetation caught everyone's attention. Hearts beating fast, cameras ready, all eyes were on Tansy, waiting for the moment that would define the journey. It was the long-awaited reunion, delicately hanging in the balance of the wild nature that was now home to Djalta and Bimms. The moist air of the rainforest closed in around Tansy and her team as they advanced cautiously. Every sound of the forest seemed amplified. Every snap of a branch and every distant call of a bird created a sonic tapestry that was both beautiful and intimidating. Tansy, leading the group, felt the weight of expectation pressing on her shoulders. Her eyes scanned the surroundings incessantly, trying to discern any movement that might indicate the presence of her former companions. Hours passed slowly, and the sun began to tilt westward, casting long shadows through the trees. The local guide, a man named Ian who knew the forest like the back of his hand, signaled for everyone to keep quiet. They had entered an area where, according to the trackers, Djalta and Bimms had been recently seen. Tansy felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She knew that the gorillas, even if they recognized her, could have changed significantly after years in the jungle. They were no longer the young animals playing in the park. Now they were leaders of their own group, wild and adapted to the harsh environment. Suddenly, Ian stopped and silently pointed to a dense thicket ahead. Subtle movements could be seen, and a low, almost grunt-like sound was audible. Tansy's heart raced. She held her breath, the camera ready in her hands as she tried to control the trembling of her anticipation. The vegetation rustled more intensely, and then an imposing figure emerged slowly. It was Bimms, recognizable by his piercing gaze and dominant posture. He stopped and looked directly at Tansy. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to disappear. Was it a look of recognition or simple curiosity? Tansy couldn't tell. Bimms took a step forward, his unmistakable, imposing posture evident. Tansy sensed the tension among her team members, all aware of the potential danger of an adult gorilla in its natural habitat. She herself felt a respectful fear mixed with a desperate hope for connection. She took a step forward, slightly separating from the group, and spoke softly, using the same tone she used as a child. "Bimms, it's me, Tansy," she said, her voice trembling but clear. There was no guarantee that Bimms would understand her words, but she hoped that the familiar tone might trigger some memory. The gorilla tilted his head, observing her intensely. The group held their breath, watching this silent exchange. After a tense moment, Bimms emitted a low sound, a soft grunt that, in the past, Tansy would recognize as a sign of recognition or a greeting. Ian whispered for the group to remain calm and not make any sudden movements. Everyone was aware that they were at a critical point where any action could be interpreted as a threat. Bimms took another step forward, his eyes still fixed on Tansy. She remained still, her heart beating so loudly that she feared he might hear it. Then, slowly, the gorilla approached closer, his posture relaxing slightly, a sign that Tansy hoped was acceptance. As Bimms drew nearer with each of his heavy, measured steps, Tansy felt a mixture of relief and joy flood her being. The tension in the air began to dissipate as Bimms continued to emit low grunts, which she interpreted as signs of recognition. She remembered these sounds from her childhood. They were the same reassuring vocalizations he made when they were together in the park. Bimms stopped a few steps from Tansy, his large brown eyes fixed on her. Suddenly, with surprising gentleness for an animal of his size, he reached out an arm and lightly touched Tansy's arm. It was a timid gesture but full of meaning. Tansy, overcoming her initial fear, reached out and touched Bimms' hand, feeling the familiarity of that rough skin. An emotional smile formed on her lips as tears welled up in her eyes. Bimms then did something that surprised everyone. He gently pulled Tansy closer and wrapped her in a hug. It was a cautious but firm embrace, as if he wanted to ensure that she was really there with him. Tansy returned the hug, feeling a wave of emotions overflow within her. The reunion was more than she could have hoped for. The documentarians, keeping a respectful distance, captured every moment of this touching encounter, aware of the rarity and beauty of the scene unfolding before them. Tansy and Bimms remained embraced for a long moment, a reunion that transcended the barriers between species, celebrating a friendship deeply rooted in the past and reaffirmed in that magical moment. After the emotional reunion, Tansy spent a few hours observing Bimms and his group in the forest, watching him interact with the other gorillas. It was evident that he was a respected leader, caring for his family. Watching him in his natural environment gave Tansy a new perspective on the importance of the conservation work her family had embraced. It was living proof that the effort to reintroduce animals to their natural habitat could succeed, a testament to her father's legacy. As the afternoon gave way to twilight, Tansy knew it was time to say goodbye again. With a heavy heart, she approached Bimms for one last farewell. This time, there were no tears, just a sense of gratitude and fulfillment. She whispered words of farewell, promising to continue fighting for the cause that had brought them together. Bimms, in turn, seemed to understand that this moment was a farewell. With one last affectionate look and a gentle touch of his hand, he turned and returned to his family, disappearing among the trees of the dense forest. Tansy returned to civilization not only with memories of this emotional encounter, but also with a renewed passion for conservation. She was resolved to follow in her father's footsteps, expanding and promoting efforts to create a future where humans and animals coexist in harmony. Bimms' farewell strengthened her commitment to this cause, inspiring her to dedicate her life to protecting wildlife and preserving the natural world. The reunion, captured in images that soon spread worldwide, became a powerful symbol of the potential connection between humans and animals and a poignant testimony to the urgent need for environmental conservation. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.